I'm sure some of you youngins out there probably wonder what it feels like to get old. So I thought I'd share it with you so that you can be prepared for those of you who make it. And I'm not saying that in a mean way. It's just that, you got to take care of yourself while you're young if you're going to make it to get old. A lot of things that you do in your youth that are reckless can really speed up the aging process, and in some cases can even take you out of the equation. So, this is my 62nd year. I'll be 62 in September. And it is old. It's closer to old than it is to young. So a lot of people say, "Oh, but you're not old." But those are usually people that are nowhere near my age. Now, on the plus side, if you take care of yourself, you can look still pretty good as you age. You can be on the outside you can look good. The thing about it, and I call this God's sense of humor, is that although the outside may feel great and look great, you can still have physical problems and limitations that remind you that you're old. So, for instance, I have muscular dystrophy. I've said this in other videos, and I've had it for about the last 10 years. And it's not really known where it comes from. They say it's hereditary, but I don't recall anyone in my immediate family that had this. I did have an aunt who had multiple sclerosis, but she did not have muscular dystrophy. So this is what I have, and it limits me. So no matter how dolled up I get to go somewhere and to look good, I still have to use the cane. And it reminds me, and I said this before in a video a couple of years ago. I remember one time I went to, I think it was the Social Security office or something, and they had a line for people who were disabled and seniors. And so I had my little cane, and I went up to the line, and a woman on another line, she yelled, and she's like, "She ain't disabled, and she sure ain't no senior citizen." And I turned around and I said to her, I said, "Sis, you see this cane? This is not fly. This is not an accessory. I mean, it was an ugly cane, and I certainly wouldn't have chosen to have it, but I needed it." And so I had to just remind her, this is not a fashion statement, sis. People who carry these things is usually because they need them. Although I saw online where they had some pretty fly canes, and I've been tempted again and again. But the thing about it is, for my size, I need something sturdy. So it doesn't make sense to have some ballerific cane that's going to snap in two. So I do what I have to do because it doesn't feel good to land on the floor. And especially when you're old, your bones are different. So if you hit the floor, you may not walk again, depending on the damage you've done, especially if your bones are already in disrepair. So that's one thing. The other thing is it's a blessing to have your mind intact. Some people, I've met people younger than me, although they were still what would be considered old, and they were nutty as fruitcakes, rambling and spitting out stuff like they had Tourette's. They may have had Tourette's, actually, now that I think about it. Tourette's is that disease that makes you blurt out stuff with telling you and curse and all kinds of madness. And then you come back to your senses, and then maybe a few minutes later you're blurting out something else inappropriate. And so it's a blessing to have your mind. But then again, that falls back to your youth and taking care of yourself. If you're doing a lot of drugs, and especially this stuff they've got out now, because I can't talk, I'll tell you in a minute, I was a pothead for many years. Actually, for many, many years leading up to this time. I loved my weed. But the stuff that you guys have now, it's all doctored. You don't know what's in it. I know some people who told me they've smoked weed that had coke in it, that had other kinds of hallucinogenic drugs in it. Then you've got Molly and all this other stuff that people are taking. The worst thing on the planet is that meth. Have you seen how some of those meth heads look? They look old and they're young. Why would you want to do that to yourself? It causes you to lose your teeth. Oh, and that's another thing that will age you. If you don't have any teeth, you're going to look like you're 90 years old. Now, for those of us who are old, if our teeth are bad, then we need to go fix them. I will tell you in a minute, I have dentures. And I'm proud I have dentures because I like to smile. So I'd rather have dentures than to have some busted teeth. So what? They're not mine. At least I thought enough of my image to go get some. And I thank God that I was able to get some affordable dentures. However, there's denture etiquette. And this is for you old people who might be listening to this. I had a friend come over one time and he asked me for a cup. He's like, can you give me a cup? And I was like, sure. I was like, what do you want in it? He was like, oh, nothing, just the cup. Did he not take out his dentures and put them in the cup? I was done. I looked at him like, surely you jest. And I told him, I said, you can't sit here with those teeth in that cup. What is wrong with you? And I was like, do you need some denture powder? You need Fix-It-In? Do you need something so you can pop them back in? And I guess they were not, ill-fitting dentures. They can be painful. Excuse me. But that's the kind of thing you do in your house. So there's a certain etiquette to being old. And the other thing with a lot of oldsters is that at some point you may need to get diapers or Depends or some type of thing of that matter to make sure that you don't have accidents when you're out in public, because things tend to work without you summoning them to work, for lack of a better word. So there's some of you walking around who smell like you've done something on yourself. You've got to take care of that. There's no pride in smelling like urine just because you don't want to wear a diaper. If you're at that age where you're having accidents, then you're going to have to get the diaper. Just get over it, And if you want to still give the image of a swinging senior, or even if you don't look like a senior, some of my senior friends, because they don't look old, they try to pretend they're young. Heads up, young people know you're not young. So you might as well just be what you are, which is a young-looking oldster, but not try to pass off as someone who is young, because they're going to peep you in a minute and then they're going to laugh behind your back because you're going to be like a fool. I know an old guy who lives in my building. He's like close to my age, and he's sagging, and he wears a do-rag, and I'm like, bro, excuse me. But now I can't even talk to him because he's one of those know-it-alls, and you just can't tell him that he doesn't have swag. And he looks ridiculous. Let me say it again. Ridiculous. Don't try to be like the young people. Even these grannies that walk around in spandex. If I wear spandex, I wear a dress over them so that they look like just leggings under a dress. I never wear them so you can see my old sagging ass. No one wants to see that. So grandmas, cover that up. It's not cute. It's not even cute when young girls do it, to tell you the truth, because I don't want to see their asses either. But some of them do. And those of you who are going to be like, oh, you're supposed to be Christian, you're cursing. Ass is not a curse. There's an animal who's an ass. He's a donkey. And when I use the word, that's pretty much what I'm talking about. I'm talking about these asses out there who act like they don't have any sense. Okay, so what else does it feel like to be old? I mentioned the aches and pains. Yes, your spirit should be intact. When we are young, and I've said this many times to young girls, we have the looks that we are born with. But when we get older, we get the looks we deserve. What does that mean? It means that, and you can find this in the Bible, it means that how a man thinketh, or a woman, in their heart is how they are. So if you're filled with a lot of wicked thoughts, or plotting all the time, there's some people who plot all the time as to how they can get over on people, or you're envious all the time, you're jealous of people, then that's your heart. And guess what? Eventually, that's going to come to the surface. You're going, as you get older. I don't know if you guys ever seen old folks that just have this permanent scowl on their face. They just look mean. When I was young, I used to run away from old people who looked mean, because, especially women, because I thought they were witches, because the whole way that they were thinking in their heart, it had manifested on their face when they got older. And the verse that I'm referring to, Proverbs 23:7, for as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee. And this is the thing, we become manifestations as we grow older of the kind of people we are. There's some of you that you'll invite people, you'll sit them down to dine with you, but you're not really with them. Your heart is not with them. You're fake. And as these people age, they begin to be visible to others who they really are, how their heart really is. So we've got to take care of the inner spirit. Forget the outside for a minute, because that'll take care of itself. I've seen people who were beautiful in their youth, but as they got older, they began to change and they were not as attractive. And it wasn't even the aging process. It was simply the fact of how they lived. I know a girl to this day, I'm not going to say her name because she's she has people who we know in common, and I don't want to embarrass her. But when we were young, oh my goodness, she could stop traffic. All the fellas loved her. She never was at a loss for dates or anything. She tried modeling and she tried a lot of things. But what kept her back was that stank attitude. And the fact that I knew her, we weren't friends. We were associated because of our mutual acquaintances, because there were a lot of people who wanted to be around her because she was so pretty. I didn't want to be around her because her attitude was so stink. But because she was connected to my friends, I was polite to her. And the thing about her is she was a user also. So the only time I would hear from her is when she needed something. If she needed help with homework, then she remembered my number. Or if she wanted to, I remember when I started working in the business, she wanted to meet Puffy, of all people. And so she got real nice with me when she found out I was in the business. This was years after we were already out of school. And she hunted me down so she could meet him. And he dogged her because, again, even men know when you're not really with them, when you're just with them because of what they have. And now she's an older woman. She's around my age. And she looks like a witch. She doesn't look attractive at all. And I'm sure in her heart she's probably reminiscing, maybe. I don't talk to her, but maybe, about how she was so hot in her youth. And she probably doesn't even have a clue as to why she doesn't have that same pull she used to have. And it's because she was such a witch. And so I say that, and even young men too. When we are blessed with being attractive, beauty can be a blessing or a curse. And when you think about the word attractive, let's break that down. It's the ability to attract. So you have to use that properly. If you can attract people, then you should use that for the good, for kingdom building, to spread the word, to teach a person, to show them that you're not all about your looks, because that's kind of weak. When you walk into a door, whether it's for an interview or whether it's to be in someone's video or whatever it is that you're going to, and you're an attractive person, your looks only matter for the first 5 minutes. After that, you're on your own. Remember that. Those of you who are full of yourselves and think, oh, I got this because I'm all this and I'm all that. Not. Because there's some people that could care less about how you look. They'll give the job to the less attractive person with the better attitude than to someone who's going to give them a headache. And I can tell you that from firsthand experience, because when I was in the industry and my artists, they needed people for their videos and things, I would interview the girls who would show up for the videos. And I didn't always pick the most attractive one. You had to have a nice attitude because, one, my boys weren't going to put up with your crap. And I certainly wasn't going to put up with it. And the next pretty girl was the next one in line, or maybe 3 down the line. And she would be the one that had the good attitude. Or I'd take the lesser attractive girl that we could work with and fix up because she had a dynamite attitude. So I knew it would be a pleasant experience. She'd get all her cues right, and we could do what we were doing, which was business. So maybe you're cute to your friends and your family, but when you get out in the real world, you're going to have more than cute to make it. So keep that in mind. And as you get older, it really doesn't work because, again, there's some old people who are full of themselves as well. Because they were attractive in their youth, they think they still got it like that. And they look like fools. Not to mention that this is not a world or a society geared towards age. The other thing is that we've got to change our eating. The stuff we used to eat when we were young, can't do it. I used to love my junk food, and I don't know, I think there's some kind of gene that comes with aging, like a fat gene, because you just start spilling out all over the place, where before you were able to pretty much eat what you want and still stay in shape. Now, I know one of the things is that, especially with women after menopause, we tend to keep the weight on. So we have to actually go in reverse and start eliminating stuff from our diet. And you also have to force yourself to work out. And that's hard if you're already fat and if you're disabled like me. I have to actually make the effort to get off my behind and do some exercise. And so you want to keep that in mind as you're growing older. Get used to exercising so that as you age, it will just be a no-brainer. I didn't do that. I didn't, when I was young, I ran around because I had the energy and I had a lot of stuff to do. But when I retired, I didn't have as much to do. And writing doesn't afford you a lot of exercise because I can't run and write. So writing is pretty much sedentary and you're sitting down for hours at a time. And so you got to find a way to move around in the chair. There are exercises you can do in your chair. You can move your legs back and forth. You can move your stomach back and forth. You can do stuff in the chair while you're sitting there in front of the computer. Okay, so, let's talk about other things that happen when you're aging. Thinning hair. Now, I come from a generation where people were, well, now they brought it back, but this is nothing new with black people. We've always had an obsession with quote unquote good hair. And so when I was growing up, I always often heard that in reference to my hair because it was more on the thin side. And it could be straight with just we used to say just grease and water and slick it back. However, the thing about that type of hair, just like with white people, is as you get older, it thins out and you become bald. The real good hair is kinky, nappy hair because that stays full and thick for life if you take care of it. So now when I come out the shower, I look like the Crypt Keeper. And so it's not necessarily good hair, but I do what I need to do to try to fix it so that it's decent. Like now I rock my braids pretty much 24/7. I change them. I wash my hair and I do new braid styles. but it's pretty much the same straight back braids because it covers the bald spots. So as you get older, you'll learn what you need to do to camouflage what has taken off. Now with men, that comb over, no, that's not cool. That you might as well either just shave it off and rock a baldy, or go to Hair Club for Men or one of those other places and get some sprouts shot in so that you can, still rock hair. And I say, also women, it's okay to be a little vain, because when you look good, you feel good. So if you have lost your hair due to whatever, sickness or just aging, and you want to buy a wig, there's nothing wrong with that. I know we're in an age now where more people are reverting back to being natural. And I support that 100%. But if I lost enough of my hair to the point where I couldn't rock my braids or without there being a lot missing, I'm going to get me some hair because I feel good when I look good. So there's nothing wrong with that. And the same thing, I mentioned the teeth already. Also, eyes. There's nothing cute about being blind. Now, this is where some of you are going to, and I'm talking about just not being able to see clearly and not doing anything to correct your vision if it is indeed correctable, or not doing things that are hurting your vision. Those of you who stare in a computer screen all day, 24/7, you're hurting your eyes. And the older you are, the less chance you can undo the damage. Now, some of you are going to probably get on my case about this, but I went ahead and I bought a flat screen TV. Oh, why did you do that? Well, let me tell you. I still don't believe in looking at TV, but I do enjoy a good movie. And I was looking at movies on my laptop, and I noticed that my vision was getting worse. I'm already nearsighted. I'm like that woman in the commercial where they used to have a commercial where they say, "Get glasses, Alice," because she'd be pouring water supposedly on the plants, but the water would be hitting the floor. So, that's one of my issues. So I decided, when I realized that I was getting blurry vision and watery eyes and I just really could not see things, it was getting worse, I spoke to my doctor, and it was the computer screen, the staring all the time in the computer screen, because after I would do my YouTube videos or write my books or whatever, then I would sit in front of my screen and look at my movies of my choice. So I got the flat screen, a big 46-inch, so that I could look at my movies without being right in front of the screen. Excuse me. And I find that it works wonderfully. I can enjoy my movies from a distance, but I still can't read what's on the screen. So from a distance, I don't know what the movie is about. The little part where they tell you what it's about, I don't know. I just look at the cover because I can see pretty much the little picture that they put up there, and I look at that, and if it looks interesting, I'll click it. And if it turns out to be something demonic or something that I definitely don't want to see, then I hit the exit button, or I'm still learning how to use the different things on the remotes. Because when I had a TV last, they weren't all this fancy. They were actually, they were big, heavy things, and you had to get off your butt to turn the channel. I think I got rid of my TV when the remotes came out, but they weren't fancy like these remotes. You had one remote, and it was up, down, volume, and off, and that was pretty much it. So, okay, so you have to make adjustments when you get older, and regular doctor visits are important so that you can ensure that everything's working well. And for those of you seniors who want to remain sexually active, now, I'm celibate because I'm not married, and that's my choice. I am a Christian, and I believe that for me, that's what works. I haven't always been celibate since I've been gotten into my 50s to this point. I've had, relationships, but I'm going to tell you something about that. As you get older, it changes. It's different. You're not that horny young person that you used to be. You can actually do with or without it. Also, you can't do all the acrobatics. So forget it. If you have, like, I mean, in your head you're doing it, but when it comes down to the real deal, you don't have it anymore. So don't even try to fake it, because you'll wind up hurting yourself, throwing your back out, or possibly breaking something. So don't try to be what you were in your youth. That's the most important thing I could tell you about aging. It's just like I bought this trampoline and I figured, oh, great, I can jump on it while I'm looking at TV. I almost broke my neck. It's still in the closet because I haven't decided what to do with it. I think when I take it out again, I'll probably just bend my knees on it and go up and down without actually lifting my feet off the trampoline, because you can't do it anymore. Just like riding a bike. I used to could do pop wheelies and all that, but I wouldn't try that now. It would be foolish of me to try that now, especially if you haven't stayed in a certain regimen over time. Don't try to pick it up again after having not done it for years and years and years. You got to take it slow. Okay, I think that pretty much sums it up. Anxious to hear your comments on this one. Lord, a lot of people wonder what it feels like to get old, and a lot of old folks, I don't know if it's because they don't want to admit to being old or they're embarrassed, they don't want to share this. And I just felt, Lord, that I wanted to share it with the youth, and also possibly give them some information on how they could take better care of themselves, so that when this time comes, and hopefully it will, that they will be prepared, and also that they will also know how to deal with people in their life who may be going through old age and the change in life, and maybe not handling it well. So I pray, Lord, that they will listen to the words in this video and share it with others, and just be blessed by the message. Lord, I thank you for the ability to make these videos, and I thank you indeed, truly, for all the blessings that you have bestowed upon me, Lord, and for the wisdom and the guidance in my daily walk. And as always, I thank you for the subscribers, and I thank you for those who just simply tune in. Thank you, everyone. Have a blessed day.